الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أفضل الصلاة وأكرم التسليم وأما بعد. We have actually gone over the tafsir, not tafsir, but impressions about Surah Al-Baqarah wa Al-Imran. And we took a break now from the tafsir for a week or two, just for a change of pace, so that, you know, we get a different flavor, inshallah, through some general purpose lecture. And today, inshallah, I would like to talk to you about a matter related to al-fiqh. Al-fiqh, the expression in the Arabic language of fiqh is the noun, and the verb from which it is derived is faqiha. This root of fa or qaf or ha is sometimes loosely associated with understanding. In the Arabic language, for understanding there is al-fahm, fahima, is understood. But the nuances of the language are such that these two terms are not synonymous. They may have some commonality between them, but they're not the same. So, to start out, inshallah, let's just make that distinction so that when we talk about fiqh, we know that there is this fine tuning about this subject matter, inshallah. Now, faqiha means a level of understanding that is above average, that is beyond the knowledge, the standard knowledge. So, to give an example, as a young engineer myself, I graduated from the Faculty of Engineering with knowledge of engineering. I have basic knowledge, right? But nobody would give me a high rise in New York to design, right? Just based on that simple level of knowledge coming out of school, right? So I had ilm then, but I didn't have the experience to back that ilm to the extent that I would be able to extrapolate beyond the bounds that I have learned. That's precisely the point of fiqh, that you have the ability by encompassing knowledge, that you gain the ability to extrapolate, go beyond the limits or the bounds of the current level of knowledge. You're faced with something that you don't find a resolution for, and now you have to rely on your own knowledge. Somebody who has knowledge not necessarily is able to do that, but somebody who has encompassing knowledge will be able to do that. There's the difference between what we call alim and what we call a faqih, right? So after many decades of being an engineer myself, I can, for example, take a look at something and say that this is not going to work. I don't have to exhaust my calculator or my computer and go through a tedious exercise, but I can, because I have developed this sense of the field of study over so many years that I can look at something and say, you know, this doesn't seem that it's going to be able to carry this building. Maybe you need to revise it or put some more steel or concrete or something like that, right? Now, this still is the same thing with the fiqh. And although it applies, the term applies to any field of study, it had taken on its own the reservation of ilm al-din. So when you talk about fiqh, You don't talk about fiqh of engineering or medicine or no. Then you understand that your mind goes directly to matters of the deen. So when it comes to ilm al-deen, this is what we call fiqh. And that fiqh is an ability to extrapolate beyond the available knowledge base. The available knowledge base. طيب. Now that we have cleared that one, we need to make it clear that with matters of fiqh, it is an interpretation of a scholar, of faqih, about a particular matter. And that interpretation, by default, is a human exercise, right? Because you don't want to at all mix what is a text from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or a nas from the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam with the fiqh. This is something else. The text is unique, right? The words of Allah are not subject to change. They are unique. So are the words of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But the interpretations thereof, these are not unique because they come from different minds over different periods of times, within different cultures or different geographies, and right? So it is understandable, therefore, that when it comes to fiqh, it is never going to be one answer. No one size fits all. Never. And this is why when you look into the schools of fiqh, you will see different scholars having different views about different matters, right? And you see Al-Hanafiyya or Al-Shafi'iyya, Malikiyya, Shafi'iyya, or Hanabla, and others who would have varying views, as a matter of fact, about different subject matters of the deen. Their interpretation is different. And the reason for the differences between those is the subject matter that we're going to bypass for now, because it's a long topic. But for now, we're going to say that when you start any reference of fiqh, you will find that it is divided into chapters. And invariably, it has been consistently agreed upon to have a certain sequence in those chapters. And the first chapter of any book of fiqh, no matter who the author is, you always open up on page 1, you will find fiqh at-tahara, right? First thing. And now you understand why, of course, because without tahara, it's the entry point to all your religious activities, your prayers and stuff like that. So it's very important to have that one clarified right off the bat. And then they go into fiqh al-salah, fiqh al-sawm, fiqh al-zakah, fiqh al-hajj, right? Fiqh al-nikah, and fiqh al-mawaris, and other many branches and subsidiaries. Now, a particular type of fiqh that we want to touch base today upon with just a few examples, is what is known as fiqh of priorities. Fiqh al-awlawiyat. Fiqh al-awlawiyat. Fiqh of priorities. And what is that? You might have a guess about what's going to come, but we're going to explain with examples to make the point clear. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he says that a man had an open head wound. One of the Sahaba had an open head wound. And getting ready for the prayer, he happened to be on a state of janaba. And he asked the fellows around him, what should I do? And they all said, you have to make ghusl. we see nothing for you other than you have to make ghusl. The man makes ghusl, the water gets into an open head wound, and he dies. And it reaches Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam what happened. And he says, قَتَلُوهُ قَتَلَهُمُ اللَّهُ. They killed him. His friends, they killed him. ألم يكن يكفي العي السؤال يعني if you don't know something, if تعي بها يعني you don't know how to handle it, huh? If you don't know the answer to something, wouldn't it be sufficient to go and ask? Go and ask. An important message from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If you don't know about something, please don't improvise, especially when it comes to matters of deen. Seek the knowledge from someone who does, and there is always somebody who will know a little bit more than you do. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Such is the creation of Allah. There is always somebody who knows a little bit more than you. You go to him. And he added, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that all he had to do was he would have washed his body and left his head alone without washing. And that would have sufficed for him. You see, unfortunately that came after the man had already been dead. خلاص. يعني overzealousness in matters of deen may cause somebody to take a stand, and what they did, those around him, was actually adhering to the verses of the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى ولا جنوبا إلا عابر السبيل حتى تغتسلوا. So the ayah is clear. حتى, until you wash. You shall not approach the salah if you are on a janaba until you wash. And that's what they did. That's what they went by. But again, this is a level of knowledge that is a basic level of knowledge. The fiqh matter here comes to say, yes, but there are basics that overrule some of these verses as well. And some of these are, for example, that fall under this priority fiqh subtext, is that درء المفسدة مقدم على جلب المنفعة. It's a standard rule of fiqh. درء المفسدة مقدم على جلب المنفعة, meaning that preventing harm precedes bringing on good. So if you are thinking that if he washes, he's getting rid of his janaba and he's getting ready for the salah, that's a good thing. But complicating his health condition to the extent that he would die, that would have had to come first. That should have preceded the matter here. مش كده؟ طيب. Amr ibn al-As in one of the ghazawat, that موقع is known as ذات السلاسل. It was in the winter time, and he woke up on a janaba and made tayammum, no ghusl, made tayammum and led the prayer of al-Fajr with the rest of the army. Then he goes back afterwards and he sits with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who pokes at Amr and says, Ya Amr, أصليت بأصحابك وأنت جنوب? Yeah, يعني, you really did pray, leading the prayer with your body, with your Sahaba, while you were in a state of janaba? And Amr said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, I did. And he added, it was a very cold night. At Fajr, it was very cold. And I remember the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. You shall not kill yourself, put yourself in harm's way, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful of you. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. That's what came to Amr's mind, and he said, فَتَيَمَّمْتُ وَصَلَّيْتُ بِالنَّاسِ. So I decided to do tayammum and make the prayer. Hearing that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam laughs. He laughs. And he does not say anything about it. Which means what? Which means that he had accepted what Amr ibn As had done. If that action were to be in contradiction with the basic of the deen, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not stand idle. He would say, you shall never do that again, for example. Or go and make a qada of this salah, because although the ma'mumeen salah is okay, yours is not. He never said any of that. Which makes that behavior of Amr ibn al-As, as a matter of fact, a sunnah. Allah, yes, it is a sunnah. How so? I'll tell you that. Don't you agree that the sunnah of a Nabi is كل قول وفعل وتقرير, affirmation. Whatever Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says or does or affirms. And this is a case of affirmation, wherein he did not reject what Amr came to him with. So therefore, if you are in this position, you have this license to do the same thing. Alhamdulillah that we are now having the luxury that we are hot water is not really, but at the time, it was a big thing. It was a big thing. Yeah. And we get used to it. But don't forget that a hot bath or a shower in the cold weather is considered of a na'im. Is considered na'im. طيب. Because it's a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to do so. ومن حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, he says, any of you who eats onions or garlic or another vegetable known as qurrat, I don't know what the equivalent of it is, I haven't seen it here, but it's some vegetable, that fresh vegetable that you eat. All of the three have in common the fact that they emit pungent aroma. So sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gives the advice, من أكل بصلا أو ثوما أو قراتا فلا يقربن مساجدنا وليصلي في بيته. If you have eaten that, any of these, don't come to the masjid, ya akhi. Pray at home. This is the fiqh. This is the fiqh. Because here, the rule that I mentioned to you a while ago applies. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. Meaning what? You shall not inflict harm onto others, nor shall others inflict harm onto you. لا ضرر ولا ضرار. This is hadith. It's hadith, which now tells you how you should behave in the masjid, akhi. When you speak to somebody while having eaten garlic or onions, it's not a pleasant thing. Let alone sitting next to them, breathing for a half hour during the prayer masjid of the Jum'ah. So if you had good fiqh, you would avoid that. The priorities here are to not cause harm for your fellow Muslims. Now, with that also goes things that يعني, are common in the effect that they cause harm to your fellow Muslim brother in the masjid. For example, if you are working, say, construction, which is يعني a task that creates يعني a lot of dust and body يعني sweats and stuff like that. If you have the ability to go home and have a nice wash and come to the masjid clean, fine. But if you find that you are in the middle of your work day and you cannot do that, then you come in this state to the masjid, that's not fine. That's not fine. That's not good fiqh. You're thinking that I am making the Jum'ah, I'm praying in Jama'ah. Indeed, this is a good thing to do. But prior to that, superseding that is not causing harm to your fellow Muslims, Muslimin, right? Or somebody who works as a car mechanic, for example, and his overall is coming with grease and stuff like that, and he stands next to you, and لا يا أخي, لا, that's not the way a Muslim should behave. And one of the things that happened actually right here a couple of weeks ago, which actually prompted me to talk to you about this very subject matter, was the fact that I sat in the first row, and right next to me, a young man who was sniffling all through the 30 minutes of the prayer from 1:30 to 2, and next to him, another fellow friend of mine also, whose voice was clogged with a horrible cold. Nonetheless, he insisted on shaking hands with me. And to guarantee the delivery. It's like, what is it, Federal Express? If it absolutely positively have to be there. Guaranteed delivery. لا يا أخي, لا يا أخي, والله, أولا, this time of the year, personally, you know, I have been down for at least 3 weeks on end of one of those bad cases of cold that developed into some bronchitis or something like that. Subhanallah. And I was on the verge of becoming recovering when one of the brothers gave me one of those nice hugs in the masjid, only to relapse. And you know that a relapse in these situations is even worse than the original case. So that's what happens. Subhanallah, we are at a time now where it is epidemic. This influenza, this flu, and the cold cases are really rampant all over the place. Be careful. Think of your fellow man next to you. If you have that, don't come to the masjid, ya akhi. Don't come to the masjid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will know your niyyah, that you are not coming to the Jum'ah because you don't want to cause harm to your fellow Muslim brothers there. And we give you more ajr than if you had come. You see, the priorities here have to be straight in our minds, akhi Muslim. Priorities have to be straight. Last example I'm going to give you, and then I will hear from you, and I'm almost certain that each of you will have an experience along those lines of priorities to tell us, and we can benefit from it, inshallah, is that at the verge of Ramadan, the very night before Ramadan comes, in our masjid, it never fails. There goes a big argument about Salat al-Tarawih. Well, some people want to pray it in this form, others want to pray it in that form. 8 rak'ah or 20 rak'ah, you know the story. Subhanallah. And every year we have people who don't like the decision that we take, and they end up not even coming to the masjid. They go and pray their tarawih somewhere else. And to that, I remind myself, and I will remind them as well. I say, Ya akhi, this whole package of a Taraweeh is an nafila, right? It's not a farida, it's an nafila. Yani, had you come, stood behind the Imam for 4 rak'ahs of Isha and said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and went home, you're good for the night, khalas. This is an extra activity, extracurricular activity, nafila. And one of the rules of fiqh also, the priority of fiqh is that a nafila cannot come before a farida. Cannot come before a farida. What farida are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about faridat wahdat al-saf among the Muslimin. The unity of the Muslim people. Instead of scattering into fragments that go each way, we want to have everyone here stay together and pray together and spend Ramadan together and get the blessing together. That's a farida. That's a farida. So you forgo the farida for the benefit of whether it is 8 or 20 rak'ahs to pray, and you make a big commotion over that. Cannot be. That cannot be. By the same token, if somebody comes in to the masjid, and they still do that, by the way, until now, I don't know why, but people still do that. They come, and the prayer is going on, and then they come in and they do Tahiyyat Masjid. Tahiyyat Masjid is not a farida, and a farida is at hand at this moment. And there is a hadith that says, La salah illa al-muqama. Yani, you shall not make any prayer other than that which is being held at the moment. Khalas, a jama'ah is praying Maghrib, you get in and you pray the Maghrib. You don't wait to do Tahiyyat Masjid and then maybe you can join, or maybe you don't have time to join after that and lose the jama'ah. Right? Priorities, akhi. This is the matter that I wanted to bring to your attention, yani, that fiqh has to be prioritized. You have to think about things and see what is more important, what comes first and what comes next. And start with the important. Al-a'la fal-adna. And at this point, inshallah, we can open up the discussion or the comments or the questions for anybody who wants to provide any input at that junction. Mr. Mustafa, first of all, we want to welcome Mr. Mustafa after a long hiatus because of his daughters who were, and that's a priority.
Yes,
that's a priority.
It's one of the priorities. Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
I just remember 10 years ago I was in Muslim country, and the celebration of Eid al-Adha was different than Saudi Arab by 2 days. So they was 2 days behind. And then we asked already the scholar in Egypt, what should we do? And they said, no, you should follow the country. The country, you just sacrifice your animal with the country and stay
wherever you are.
Yes, and start your Eid with the same country.
Yeah, but this situation, particularly when you're talking about Eid al-Adha, is a situation that does not really hold water with this advice. Because how about Arafah? You're 2 days
behind.
doesn't work, because that Awal Dhul Hijjah has already been determined by Saudi Arabia, and therefore Arafah is determined as such, and therefore you as another country, other Muslim country, you adjust your calendar right away to follow suit with them. This may be applicable for Eid al-Fitr because of the crescent, and we haven't seen it, they have seen it, this and that, and it always happens every year. Every year. Some country starts the Ramadan on Tuesday, another country on Wednesday, and and some country makes a Eid, while another country is still fasting. Mashing. But in this case, there is, in the fiqh matter, in the fiqh of Siyam, there is a contingency for that, by the way, which is known as اختلاف المطالع. اختلاف المطالع. Meaning having different sightseeings of the moon for different countries, and with that, the fatwa that you heard does apply. يعني you've seen the hilal في مصر, خلاص يبقى it is Ramadan starting في مصر. Suppose in Maghrib they didn't see it, they are having another day of 30th of Sha'ban and they start a day later. That's fine. Although there is also another fiqh opinion, and here is the matter that I started out by telling you that there is never a single answer for matters as such. It never is a single answer, because there is also a provision that says that no, anywhere on the face of the earth, anybody in any Muslim country sees the hilal, then all nations should follow that sighting. Tamam? And of course, with today's communication and stuff like that, tools, you have no problem with that. If somebody sees the hilal in New Zealand, you know about it over your smartphone 5 seconds later. This is not a problem. And for those, and again, that was a problem, ya akhi, subhanallah. Just like Taraweeh Ramadan was and is still, that also is a problem with the cycling. And they tell you, I tell them, why do you have to do that? They say, yes, because there is a hadith. And there's indeed there is a hadith. What did the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? Sumu li ru'yatih wa aftiru li ru'yatih. Khalas. And they tell you, how is that supporting the one date for all Muslims? They tell you, because الخطاب كان لعامة المسلمين. The address was to Muslims. صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا for the whole جماعة of المسلمين. So it applies to all. That's an opinion. You see? That's an opinion. And the other is also a reputable opinion. A reputable opinion. And it came from al-fiqh also when at the time of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. He was Amir Mu'mineen at the time. And one of the Sahaba from Medina was doing the trip to Sham, and he spent the first part of Ramadan up there, and then he came down and was speaking to Abdullah ibn Abbas. So Abdullah ibn Abbas asked him, how did you do about Ramadan? He says, we started fasting on a Friday. How about you? Abdullah ibn Abbas says, no, we started fasting on Saturday. And Abdullah ibn Abbas asked him, did you guys see the hilal there on Friday? He said, yes, Muawiyah saw it, and I saw it. So the Sahabi himself saw the hilal on a Friday. Abdullah ibn Abbas says, but we never saw it on a Friday, therefore we atammina Sha'ban, and we started the Ramadan on Saturday. Here is the key now. The man asks Abdullah ibn Abbas, saying, shouldn't you follow the lead of Muawiyah then? Muawiyah is Khalifa, right? Amir Mu'mineen now. He's the leader of the Muslim community. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, with his knowledge and fiqh, he says, no. هكذا علمنا رسول الله. This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had taught us to do. Notice, akhi, that in this particular example, you may have issues when you get from different longitudes around the face of the earth. مش كده? But Sham والمدينة, they're on the same timeline, they're on the same خط طول, they're the same longitude. They shouldn't, they shouldn't have differences in the sighting of the moon. Nonetheless, they did. And by the way, this matter has been resolved in our masjid a few years back. Not too long, maybe 5 years or so at the most. And I had to fight hard for it actually, myself, because what I suggested there was to follow the calendar, follow the astronomical calculations. And again, I had opposition coming from the same hadith that I told you. صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا لرؤيته. يعني you have to see, to fast, and to end Ramadan, same thing. And I said, but the calculations now are accurate to the extent that if you want to know on what day Ramadan is going to be 100 years down the line, you can find out. They will tell you that crescent will be born at that very hour, minute and second of that very day. And why shouldn't we take faith into the equation of modern science and technology? Why shouldn't we benefit from that? No, sumu, and that's what they would do. Sumu لرؤيته وأفطروا. طيب, I agree with you, sumu, but a ru'ya doesn't have to be bid'ah. No, it has to be bid'ah.
But it's easy here.
Huh?
It's easy in Berkeley. There is one place you can see.
Again, if there is a sophisticated that's exactly what I said to that friend, by the way. I said, okay, 2 people go up there on a high mountain to see the sighting of the hilal. And one is looking with his own eyes and he doesn't see it. But the guy next to him has a high resolution telescope and he looks and he sees it. What do you say now?
You saw it.
But see, this is not لرؤيته because he didn't see it with his eye, right? He saw it with the assistance of a tool, right? Same thing as the calculations. They are a tool that is verifiable and, but alhamdulillah, we had to vote, by the way, for that, in the board and had to make a decision to go with that. And by the way, this is what the ISNA goes by. Goes by the calculations, already resolved. And what's the beauty there? The beauty is that everybody fasts the same day. Before that, Omar Farouk would fast on one day, and we are fasting on another. San Ramon is fasting on a third. La. That cannot be the good way of doing things. See the beauty of having that unity with reliance on science. طيب. I hope that answered the question about. فعيد الأضحى السعودية has a claim that cannot be contested, which is Arafah. Cannot be contested. Question. Yes, right.
So I asked this from a few ulama before, and what I got was one answer, and I'll ask you too. They recommended on a day-to-day basis you should follow one fiqh. One fiqh. So if you're following Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi, you should follow one opinion. But if there are exceptions, then you can follow another opinion. Is that true?
That's a suggestion of a lot of the scholars actually. They give you this suggestion. And they try to avoid the cherry picking among the mazahib. You find a mas'ala where the easy way out is the Hanafi, you say I'm taking the Hanafi. You go to another mas'ala and it's a Maliki that gives you the easy way, I say, okay, on this one I'm going to take Malik. Now you are really playing with the matter of fiqh. You're not, and of course, Allah knows best. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says in the hadith, استفتي قلبك. استفتي قلبك. يعني you seek a fatwa from your own heart. Of course, that doesn't mean that you preclude the knowledge of the scholars and you take your whims into consideration. خلاص لا. It means that you listen to different varying opinions about the subject matter and then run it by your heart. Because again, by the way, I taught this fiqh course. I think I used at the time the series of Sheikh Said Sabiq rahimahullah, Fiqh Sunnah. It comes in 4 volumes actually, 4 volumes. And I never found a group, just like yourself here, that could have patience to go through it with me. But maybe manage to go maybe halfway. And then they start moving in their seats, and I understand. It's very technical. Fiqh is very technical. But at the end of what I was presenting to that previous group, I said, if there is one thing that you have learned from all of these matters over fiqh, I want you to remember this. There is never a single answer to any subject matter. You will have a scholar saying, I think this is better. Another scholar will say, no, I think that is better. And by the way, Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man, he is credited for establishing that field of study of fiqh, by the way. And there was no manhaj, there was no system prior to Abu Hanifa. And he was 150 هجري مثلا, مش كده? 150 or so. He had a saying, he said, he who does not know our rationale should not take our advice. لأنه when Abu Hanifa says that you can do this in wudu, for example, and you say, I'm going to just do it because Abu Hanifa said, he says, no. You have to have the adillah, the dalil. You have to understand, why did Abu Hanifa say this? What was his rationalization? And when you do it, and when you run it by your heart and you accept it, then do it. And nama blindfoldedly كده follow Abu Hanifa? No. And all those heavyweights, يا أخي, I want you to know this. They never wanted people to be dogmatically following them, just like never. For example, Al-Imam Malik. لا يفتى ومالك في المدينة. Nobody shall make fatwa when Malik is residing in Medina. By the way, a man comes to Imam Malik from Karim's hometown of Al-Maghrib. Al-Maghrib at the time traveling all the way to Medina to ask Imam Malik one question. And when he asks Imam Malik a question, Imam Malik answers, I don't know. I don't know. And he says, yeah, Imam, I came to you all the way from Morocco to ask you, what shall I tell people there? He said, go and tell them. And Imam Malik said, I don't know. And these are the people. By the way, Shafi'i says that he was watching Imam Malik answering questions. And he says that he was asked about 48 mas'ala. 48 mas'ala. In 32 of which he said, I don't know. Malik. In 32, he answered 16, right? Out of 48. La ilaha illallah. In baseball language, ya Kareem, he's batting 300 or something, right? It's a very bad, it's a very bad ratio. يعني. لا, it's not that much. I don't know. من قال لا أدري فقد أفتى ومن أفتى بغير علم فقد كفر. If you give a fatwa, you have to have knowledge to back it up. If you don't, I don't know is the answer, right? Now, we said that Imam Abu Hanifa was the founder of this ilm of fiqh. And everyone who followed acknowledges that. And Imam Shafi'i, by the way, one of the most brilliant minds of Islamic history. One of the most brilliant minds. Shafi'i had one of those, what you call them, photographic memories. You know what that is? You put a book in front of him, he looks at the page, خلاص. He doesn't forget it again. خلاص. Subhanallah. He himself used to say about Imam Abu Hanifa what? He used to say, كل الناس عيال على أبي حنيفة. كل الناس عيال على أبي حنيفة. يعني everybody is taking from the knowledge of Abu Hanifa. They're students to Abu Hanifa. Imam Malik used to live at a time where Harun al-Rashid was Khalif. And Harun al-Rashid had two boys. And Imam Malik used to teach in the masjid. He would have a halaqa and he would teach his book. He has a book, it's known as Al-Muwatta. Muwatta al-Imam Malik. And one day, Harun Rashid, Khalifa, he says, sends to Malik, he says, Harun Rashid wants you to come and teach Al-Muwatta to his boys in the palace here. And see how the pride of al-ulama is. Imam Malik responds by saying, I'm not going to be able to do that. And he answers, Al-ilmu yu'ta wa la ya'ti. That knowledge, you have to seek knowledge. Knowledge is not supposed to seek you. You want to learn? Come to the masjid where the sheikh is and sit and listen. On another occasion, by the way, Harun Rashid said he was very fascinated with the book of Malik, and he said, I have a suggestion. What is it, Ya Harun, Ya Rashid? He said, we are going to put aside all books of fiqh and make the Muwatta the mandatory single book of fiqh to be taught to people at large. You would have thought, Ya Muhammad, that this is something that would make the Imam Malik proud and happy, let alone financially very secure too, for having his book, because the books were transcribed then by hand and they were a very expensive commodity. And of course, Imam Malik, as you expect, said, no, people should listen from all scholars, and they should have their own mind to make a decision for themselves. You cannot just say, that's it, this is what you read, don't read anything else. By the way, I had a shuyukh in the past that would tell me that. Don't read to this person. No, we don't want you to read. Read. Why so? Now, with the matter of fiqh, you have to, at the end of the day, consult your own heart after getting the feedback from reputable, solid scholars. But don't be surprised that they are going to be giving you conflicting messages at times. One last example I'm going to give you now is that of bank interest. A subject matter that was, and even still to this very day, is very much heated in discussion. Is it halal or is it haram to take an interest on the money that you put in your bank? And I think it was in the 70s that Sheikh Al-Azhar, and I was in Alexandria, Egypt at the time, just finished my undergraduate, and our scholar at the time, may Allah bless him if he's alive and have mercy on him if he's already passed away. If he's alive, he's probably well into his 90s now, was Sheikh Ahmed Al-Halawi. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but he was a proponent in Alexandria, and he used to, I used to attend his sessions all the time. But the head of Al-Azhar was Sheikh Gad al-Haq. Sheikh Gad al-Haq. And Sheikh Gad al-Haq was faced with this problem about interests, bank interests, in the mid-70s, sometime there. And what he did was he formed a committee, studied the subject matter, come back with a recommendation. And it took them, I think, about a year or so. And at the end of that period, they came back with the recommendation that interest from the bank is haram. Haram. Khalas, people are starting to find other ways to secure their funds. Fast forward to the 1990s, whereupon the same question was addressed, but now the head of the Azhar was Sheikh Sayyid Tantawi, rahmatullah alayhi, scholar, a true scholar too. Sheikh Sayyid Tantawi, very mild-mannered person. And again he formed yet another committee, and they studied the subject matter again, but now they threw in people from finance and economics and deen and all of the above. And at the end of their study, they came up with a recommendation that it is halal to take interest from the bank. So you now have two fatwas that are standing, because these are, they remain, they don't go away. Sheikh Al-Haq says this, Sheikh Sayyid Tantawi says that. One says it's haram to take fawaid bank, another says it's halal to take fawaid bank, it's not riba. Because the whole idea is whether it is a case of riba or not. So the idea is not to look into the interest itself, but into its relation to a riba. Can you classify it as riba or not? And at the end of the day, now you have these two fatwas at hand. Take whichever you want, so long as you're convinced, so long as your heart is comfortable with that recommendation or the other. Some people will take al-ahwat and say, you know what, if there are two opinions, I'm going to just be cautious, err on the side of caution. Khalas, I'll take Sheikh Gad al-Haq's opinion. Other people will think and say, wallahi ya akhi, by definition from that committee, that riba is something, and the transaction with the bank is does not qualify as riba. And as such, I'm going to be taking the interest, and my heart is content with that. But again, this is the fiqh, this is the understanding, and no one is going to come and tell you this haram, this halal. No, you have to learn what the provisions are and study them, and then make the choice. Because, and by the way, this is a standard practice, at least back home where I come from, that the easy way out is go ask a sheikh. And the colloquial term that is used is عَلَّقْهَا فِرَاءَ الشيخ. Just lay the responsibility on a sheikh and then say, hey sheikh, well, he gave me this fatwa. No, it's not going to work out this way, because on the day of judgment you're not going to come and have your sheikh accompanying you. لا يا أخي, وكلهم أتيه يوم القيامة فردا. We stand alone in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we'll be judged alone. And Allah will ask, and Allah Alim Khabir. يعلم السر وأخفى. He knows what your intent is. So this is why we always revolve and we go back to the hadith. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. Any other commentary or question? Yes, yes, Khalid.
One very specific question, maybe slightly technical. All these great four Imams, Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, Maliki, Ahmad bin Hanbal, they are all Mujtahid Mutlaq, right?
Naam.
Yeah.
Naam.
Is Imam al-Nawawi, rahimahullah, is he also considered in that category or not?
No, he's not.
He's not.
He does not have a mazhab. And a mazhab means that they have studied all different branches of the deen and have given a ruling about all of these different masail. Then you have a system or a school of thought, right? But there are other madhahib that are less known. Yani, for example, there is mazhab al-Zahiri. Mazhab Abu Dawud al-Zahiri. It's a reputable mazhab also. There are other mazahib as well, but less known than the four big ones. Now, right. Any other comment? Then inshallah we can conclude with the dua, inshallah, and we call it tonight. اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا رب العالمين يا حي يا قيوم يا أحد يا صمد يا من لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. أسألك اللهم يا رب العالمين أن تبارك لنا فيما أعطيت. اللهم يا أرحم الراحمين علمنا في ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا. اللهم فقهنا في الدين فإن نبيك الكريم هو القائل من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. اللهم فقهنا في ديننا يا رب العالمين واهدنا سواء السبيل. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم بارك لنا في جمعنا هذا. اللهم بارك لنا في جمعنا هذا واجعله يا ربنا تجمعا معصوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. آمين آمين. وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بارك الله فيكم أجمعين.